Wherever you're listening in the world, it's a pleasure to welcome you to IsraelCast, the podcast powered by Jewish National Fund USA, your voice in Israel. I'm Stephen Shalowitz, first reminding you that for over 120 years, Jewish National Fund USA has been the premier philanthropic movement for the land and people of Israel. While best known for planting trees in Israel, JNF USA contributes to Israeli life in so many ways, including community development in the Negev and the Galilee, preservation of heritage sites, supporting people with disabilities, connecting high school and college students to Israel, and helping our brothers and sisters in need following the heinous October 7th terrorist attack. To learn more and to see how you can contribute, do visit jnf.org. Once again, jnf.org. Plus, if you haven't done so already, we'd love it if you subscribe, rated, and reviewed us. 5 stars, of course. Do so wherever you get your podcasts. And we'd love it too if you shared the podcast within your orbit. As for this episode, we warmly welcome back Dr. Tsvi Sheleg to the program. He was our guest way back in 2019 when I visited the Galilee Medical Center. Now, Dr. Sheleg has served as the deputy director of the GMC, the Galilee Medical Center, since 2017. In this role, he oversees the hospital's emergency preparedness and leads its innovation program. We're going to be talking about that, which he indeed founded. As the COVID-19 project manager for the medical center, he was recognized with an Outstanding Employee Award by the head of the Governmental Hospital Division. Dr. Sheleg graduated from Ben-Gurion University in Beersheba in 2003 with a degree in medicine, and he completed his residency in ophthalmology at the Galilee Medical Center. In 2014, he earned his executive MBA from Tel Aviv University, and he later specialized in medical administration at Rambam Medical Center in Haifa and in the leadership of Maccabi Healthcare Services. And on top of all of that, Dr. Sheleg completed his military service as a captain and company commander in the Armed Corps, receiving awards for excellence from the IDF Chief of Staff and the Northern Command Commander. And with that, we warmly welcome Dr. Tsvi Sheleg back to IsraelCast, who joins us now on the line via Zoom from his office at the Galilee Medical Center. Dr. Sheleg, it's been way too long, way too long, and we want to welcome you back. It's so great to see you once again.
Great to see you, Stephen. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be at this podcast.
All right, so much has happened since we last met up there at the Galilee Medical Center in early 2019. And before we really begin and talk about some of the wonderful work that is going on at the GMC, is there anything else? You have such a robust biography. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners about your background?
Well, I must say that I listened to the intro that you did, and I was like, did I do all that? So actually, I just like to say that I was born and raised in Tel Aviv, like you mentioned, and I moved here to Mitzpe Hila. Mitzpe Hila is famous for Gilad Shalit that used to live here, and he's back home for many years now. So I live here in Mitzpe Hila with my wife, Dr. Elit. She's in charge of our nuclear medicine institution in the Galilee Medical Center, and my 2 kids, who is serving in the army, and he's now around Jerusalem, and my younger kid, Amitai, and he's a basketball player, and he's going to sign with Hapoel Tel Aviv. So, things happen.
Mazal Tov, you're a proud father there, I can see.
Yeah, very much, very much. I'm very much into
We got to
basketball.
get him. We got to get him on IsraelCast.
Right.
Well, I have to
And
say, you and your wife are definitely a power couple up there at the GMC.
we're a couple where we have a lot of power together.
All right. Well, listen, for any listener, Dr. Sheleg, that did not hear and regrettably didn't hear our interview that we conducted in early 2019, can you just share a brief backgrounder on the GMC, on the Galilee Medical Center? It's a wonderful
Right. Okay.
institution.
Okay. So the Galilee Medical Center is the second largest hospital northern of Tel Aviv. We have almost 800 beds, and we serve a huge population of 650,000 civilians, and many, obviously, of the soldiers, which are situated in the northern border. We are practically level 1 trauma, meaning that we are experienced, and we have all the facilities and all types of surgeries that a level 1 trauma needs. We're affiliated to the Faculty of Health in the Bar-Ilan University, which is situated in Sfat, but as some of your listeners know, medical training go bedside. So 2/3 of their clinical training and 2/3 of the students go through their medical training in the Bar-Ilan University. We have quite a few excellence areas like robotic surgeries in many fields. We are one of the leading, probably the leader in using 3D printers for tissue and for tissue supplemental. We perform gender affirming operations. Only another hospital in Israel does that. And some of our departments are using intraoperational extended reality capabilities. So
What
it's
is that?
quite it's a situation where the surgeon is using a 3D extended reality goggles, huge ones, and he sees the patient, and throughout the surgery he can see also the implants and just actually place them in the right place of the skull before he performs the actual surgery. So during the surgery, he uses these glasses and allocates the fragments that needs to be attached to the skull in different sites, which is very innovative. And I think we are one of the leaders in the world in that field. And this is just to name a few, because I think that as I talked first about our trauma, and I think that we're one of the most experienced trauma centers in Israel and probably in the world. And because there's a lot of trauma in the Galilee. So we see it from car accidents, from obviously from shotgun wounds, from stabs, from it's the Western Galilee. That's what I mean.
The Wild West, as they say.
The wild Western Galilee.
Right, but it's a fabulous part of Israel indeed. So, Dr. Sheleg, with all of the innovation that's taking place at the Galilee Medical Center, I'm just wondering what sort of international cooperation do you have? I would imagine that hospitals and medical facilities around the world would be super interested in the work that you're doing there.
Right. So we started a collaboration with Cedar Sinai. We have a few
Los
hospitals and a few
Angeles.
Los Angeles, right? And but it's just the beginning. And we have a few hospitals in Europe as well. We have a few connections with physicians that came over and joined us during Iron Swords, and I'll talk about that later. And actually, our innovation center is just building its capacity to create these international collaborations. We have agreements regarding data with startups, one of the best in Israel that uh, helps health organization use their data and for collaborations with other companies, with health tech companies and startup companies. And we have a few connections with Microsoft Israel, their R&D, their health tech R&D is located in Israel. Uh, I'm not sure if you heard of Viz AI, which is an AI software, and one of their leading consultants is one of our doctors, and perhaps I'll talk about it later on. So actually, I believe that the Galilee Medical Center Innovation Center and our GMC playground is starting to create connections for future collaborations.
I think it's fantastic. So you just referenced the innovation program. I understand it was launched in 2021. What should we know about that program, as well as really the health tech cluster in general? It was established at the hospital, stemming from the Ministry of Economy's grant that you received. So what should we know, Dr. Sheleg?
Right. So first, we started this thing. We were collaborating with a company named SIT, um, which is an international company that helps organizations, not only health tech organization, to build up their innovation program. And since then, we have a advisory board, and we built the innovation community to allow the hospital to be attractive for innovation progress for in-house to use with our doctors and our patients, and obviously outside. So what we did is we made a decision to work in two major arms. The first one is the ideation program. And the ideation program, we want to make sure that our doctors can speak the language and use innovation thinking. And SIT, systematic innovation thinking, is one way of ideation thinking, but there are others. So we worked with the biodesign, which is originated in Stanford University, and we made courses for our innovation leaders inside the hospital. And we do two of them a year. These courses are very, very attractive, and all doctors want to go in them. Obviously, not all of them can be accepted. So, but it's not only physicians, because innovation is not only in the physician's hands. It can be with nurses, it can be with physiotherapists or IT leaders. So people in the hospital, they go through this training, and once they go through this training, they start one of two missions. The one is to build up their own startup. And I must say that this arm, this ideation arm, brings us one project a week. So we have about 50 of them a year, and most of them advance in this course of startups. 3 of them are already building up as pre-seed startups, and we're advancing. So that's one part of the ideation program.
Can you give us an example of one of the projects, or is it too early?
Yeah, well, it's a bit confidential business-wise, because it's not yet outside.
Manifest.
So we're working on a device, a medical device that has to do with superficial tortured veins. That's one startup that is in the making. The other one has to do with drug delivery, and the other one has to do with, I would say, using AI to read videos of special endoscopies. So these are the 3 startups that are advancing, already gathered some money. It's very interesting, and we understand that, this is the deep tech industry. It takes about 7 to 10 years for a startup to be really successful. So we're 3 years down the road, and we have like a course that we're going through, and we understand that it's going to take a few more years, but we truly believe in them. And about 1 of the 50 each year is advancing to this situation. So this is one part of our innovation program. The other part is collaboration with startups that want to come to our hospital. Either they need data, or they need a clinical leader, or they need a clinical field, or they want to create a design partnership of their startup. So we create a system that has innovation leaders in every department, and they are the POC for this collaboration with the startups. Point of contact, the person that is going to be the point of contact in the department for this collaboration with the startup company, but not only, even big health tech companies, like we have a project with Microsoft, as I mentioned before. So this is what the innovation program does. And as years go by, we understand that this is a huge engine for the Galilee to bring up strong population to the north. medical students, they are looking for innovation. They don't want to go through their medical training as is. So this year, our innovation program, myself, we're going to teach medical students in the Faculty of Health in Zafat an innovation course. That's one thing. We do the biodesign courses for our staff, physicians, but not only, as I mentioned. And we now started, before I'll speak with the health about the health tech cluster, we have been chosen by the Ministry of Health to lead the National Mental Health Innovation Program. So every mental health institution in Israel is building their own innovation program with our guidance. So we teach them how to build an innovation program to all the mental health institutions, which is huge for us. It's very challenging, but it's very fulfilling because we understand that what we did is practically we build a startup for startup in health techs, for the GMC. That is our startup. And now we are teaching other mental health institutions to build their own startups, to create startups in their mental health institutions, in their hospitals. And we see a cascade of ideas and of startups that will start building, and it started in the Galilee Medical Center Innovation Program, which we're very proud of.
Well, really, congratulations. It's all very exciting. And so, just to underscore the point that you're looking at health tech is a major driver for economic development in the Western Galilee.
Exactly. It brings up strong population, Jewish populations, but not only strong populations. I'm talking about doctors, all medical experiences or medical professions, and obviously startups which are interested in health tech. And the Ministry of Finance made a decision to start the health tech cluster in the Western Galilee, and the Galilee Medical Center is in the center of it. Because you can't have a cluster without a big organization that has the doctors, the knowledge, the experience, the data, and this is why we're the center of it. So they made a decision to support 4 health tech clusters in Israel. First of them is Sheba. Next is Ichilov. Next is Rambam. And the fourth one is the Galilee Medical Center Innovation Program. So this is a huge thing. It's a governmental statement that innovation, health tech innovation, should be performed and should be, I would say, extended and expanded in the Western Galilee. So we believe this is something that's going to create a huge change to the Western Galilee.
Dr. Sheleg, I think one of the beautiful things about the Galilee Medical Center, as we find in all medical centers throughout Israel, is that you find Arabs, you find Jews, you find everybody under the sun working together to achieve common goals and for patient care. And I'm wondering if you can address that.
Yeah, well, there's a phrase called diversity and inclusion, and it affected many companies and a lot of the industry culture in the US and around the world. Well, to us, it's not just a phrase. This is the way of our way of life. Israel is a melting pot of Jews, and the Galilee is a melting pot of Israelis because our community is very diverse. It's strengthened us. We have Jews and we have non-Jews, and the non-Jews can be Muslims, Christians, Druze, Cherkess, Bedouin, many types of cultures and diversity of population, which is very interesting, and it gives us a lot of strength because we have to consider everything, and we learn from the different cultures together. And the hospital, as a team, we work together. And I think this is the face of our community, but also the face of our hospital, and it's a huge power source for us.
So it's really a plus in terms of the Western Galilee, because I was going to give, before we move on, I wanted to give you the opportunity to make a pitch for living in the Western Galilee. I mean, apart from all the health tech activity that's going on there, give us a little bit more of a pitch before we move on.
Right. So I was born and raised in northern Tel Aviv, which is the like one of the best, one of the good neighborhoods in Tel Aviv. But I made a decision to live up here north. Now, the best way for me to explain to you how good it is to live up in the Galilee is to take the camera right now and to take a tour at my porch and at the view of the Galilee in between the trees. Everything is natural, and and to see the border from one side, the ocean on the other side, and Haifa in the left side. So you actually understand that you live in Israel. You live in the nature of Israel. I think that the quality of life is the best here, and surprisingly so, uh, if we are controlling the northern part of, I mean, the southern part of Lebanon, and I believe that we are right now. And I hope for Lebanese people that it will stay this way. This is probably the safest place in Israel. And I think that plus there's going to be huge opportunities. There are quite a few physicians that joined us during the war. Some of them stayed, some of them did Aliyah in the past few years from all types of countries. And if any of you is listening to this podcast, then contact me. If you're considering Aliyah and you're a physician, then we can help you find, to me, that's the best home in Israel. I will never leave the Galilee.
So, Dr. Sheleg, as long as you gave that very kind offer for physicians to contact you and perhaps nurses as well and other people in the medical field, how can they get a hold of you?
So actually, I think I send you a QR code at the LinkedIn, which I'm most available there.
All right.
And
So people can find you at LinkedIn.
just look me up at LinkedIn. I'm sure my name is in the podcast title, so
Right.
or
Everyone, go to the show notes and we'll have Dr. Sheleg's info there. You're going to be deluged, after making such a pitch for inviting people up there. And whether or not they're physicians or they're just tourists as well, it's really, really a fabulous part of Israel. It is absolutely stunning. When I was there, as I said, in early 2019, it was the end of February 2019. And we have to give a shout out to Sharon Mann, your colleague there, who helped arrange both this interview and my other interview with you, as well as with Dr. Eyal Sela. And we want to send him our very best regards as well. And she took me up on the roof there of the Galilee Medical Center, and just the view there was so inspirational. I said, I just want to write my book here. I mean, just pull up a chair and just sit there. It was absolutely stunning. It's a really beautiful part of Israel, and it's not crazy far from any major center in case you need to have a big city and so on. So it's really a very special place indeed. And as we said, there's a whole ecosystem of startups going on in the north. It's not just in health tech, but so many other startups have found homes there, especially in agriculture, in food. And we've spoken about that before here on the program. Is there anything else before we move on that you want to add about that?
well, the food tech cluster is basically located in the Eastern Galilee, and the health tech cluster in the Western Galilee. But as you said, there are many industry sites that are obviously building up, obviously after the war, after the 7th October War, the Iron Swords, then the government is investing in the Galilee and in the Gaza Otef. Then I understand that I believe that it's going to make huge difference. Israel has to spread into her borders, and if you do an aliyah, you know, from my house to Tel Aviv is an hour and a half or so.
It's not bad.
It's like from, from Boston to New York takes.
No,
So
it's shorter than that, actually.
I know.
Much
I
shorter.
mean,
It's like if
everything
you're
on the
living in,
train,
it's like if
the
maybe
fastest
you're
train
living
ticket.
somewhere in Connecticut, let's say, and you're commuting
Right.
into Manhattan. It's roughly that type of scenario. Well, yeah, indeed, it's not difficult to get around from the Western Galilee to other parts of Israel. Well, listen, just moving on because you did reference the war, and already as we talk right now, there's of course the war with um, Hamas in Gaza, which very sadly is still raging. You had your war with Hezbollah up north there, which is quiet right now. And of course, as we record this, of course, the war with Iran, which seems to be have subsided right now, or seems to have quieted down on that front. Can you talk, Dr. Sheleg, about the tech and protocols that the GMC have in place that have helped the hospital really stay in operation and to keep patients safe during all of these various wars?
Right. So this is where it gets interesting. First,
Whole conversation's been interesting, Dr. Sheleg.
thank you. It's because of you, Stephen.
Oh, come on. I'm
Um,
just doing the questioning.
Good one. So I think it's important, first of all, to understand that the Galilee Medical Center is the closest hospital to any border in Israel, just 5 miles away from the Lebanese border. And it's probably the most protected hospital and the most experienced hospital in critical situations like wars. Uh, my ophthalmology department, when I was a young ophthalmic resident, during my night shift, was hit by a direct missile. And my life and the life of dozens of patients were saved because the previous director, Professor Shasha, rest in peace, made a decision to build an underground facility. Now, this was unheard of. It was in the 70s. And he received the headlines that he was a Meshiggah, a crazy guy, because he buried millions of dollars underground. But so it happens that many people who were called Meshiggah are actually visionary. And in 2006, the second Lebanese war, the hospital was struck by a direct missile and no one was hurt. It wasn't luck, it was a decision to build a protected hospital. I'm not talking about protected shelters. I'm talking about a fully competent hospital that can hold up to over 500 patients out of the almost 800 on a daily basis, which are fully protected from shells and from bombs. And the idea of a hospital that all of its critical sites, and I'm talking about the ER, the trauma room, the operating theaters, the laboratories, the CTs, the intensive care units, everything that is critical is fully protected in their natural habitat, which is unheard of. That way, if a mass casualty event happens around the hospital, which happened during this war quite a few times, we were fully prepared to treat the soldiers and our civilians during a continuous missile attack, which is unheard of. And I think in that we're the most prepared and experienced probably in the world. I'm not sure the Ukraine has the type of thinking that we do. So during Iron Swords, my hospital was performing surgeries and treating patients throughout 14 months in fully protected areas. Thousands of civilians hit by or needed medical therapy for their everyday life, and obviously thousands of soldiers as well. And on the 7th of October, we arrived early morning to our command center, our protected command center, and Professor Masad Barhum, the director of the hospital, made a decision, a brave decision, to start taking all the hospital from the upper facilities to the underground facilities. It took us a few days because we weren't fully under a missile attack back then. They were shooting anti-missile on tanks and on soldiers. They weren't shooting at civilians at the beginning. So it took us a few days, and we did it gradually and safely. It's very, very risky. Think of 800 patients that needs to be deployed to underground facilities. So that was what we did. And as we started working them there in the underground facilities, we understood that we need to drill more, even more than we ever drilled, because it was the first time the hospital was fully functional in fully protected areas. And we build a protected helipad, a second one, a new one. And we built another trauma room just adjacent to the main trauma room. We received doctors that arrived from United States. They received Israeli license and stayed with us, boots on the ground, for 2 weeks. They treated soldiers with us. They helped us organize mass casualty events. They helped us to treat the patients for 2 weeks. They worked with us in the underground facilities. And I can tell you that the connection for these guys with us is a bonding that we never felt before. And the support of these doctors to our hospital is very, very valuable. So we're happy for that. And we were preparing ourselves all the time for the northern front to erupt, which would mean 5,000 missiles on the Galilee every day, which would mean a few mass casualty events for civilians and for soldiers every day. So that scenario luckily didn't happen. Well, luck has nothing to do with it. I mean, the IDF, obviously, the intelligence and the Air Force and our soldiers, they did the job, and we never had to go through that worst case scenario that we were preparing to. But I can tell you that it wasn't easy, but we felt safe there. I remember myself a few months into the war. At the beginning, I didn't perform cataract surgeries. I was too occupied with the emergency preparedness of the hospital. But then I started, performing the surgeries again. And I remember one patient, 82 years old, named Chaya, and I was performing the cataract surgery as always. And actually, in the middle of the operation, the alarm went off. And it goes in everybody's phones when the alarm goes off. And it makes you jump. Everyone jumps in an alarm. You go like this. You get alarmed. And I was during the operation, and I told her, Chaya, no worries. We are inside a protected operating room. We will continue the operation. And that is only when I understood how important it is to have all these protected facilities.
And to what extent then have other hospitals adopted the protocols that you've initiated and that indeed the GMC initiated decades ago?
So actually, hospitals that are close to borders are trying to match our capabilities in performing, acting as a hospital under a continuous missile attacks. And some of them are doing a great job. I believe that we have the largest number of beds in these facilities. Obviously, a Rambam has 2,000 beds, but the conditions there are different. They're difficult because it's inside a car parking lot, an underground parking lot. They switch it into an underground hospital. So I think, to answer your question, I think all of the hospitals in Israel, we're going to start to learn from our experience, and a lot of money is going to be invested in this in the next few months and years.
Yeah,
I
because
believe
Don't forget, Soroka was hit in Beersheba.
Soroka was hit. Soroka was hit, and that was a true miracle that uh, no one was really severely injured. And I think it has to do with miracle, and it has to do with again a smart decision by Professor Kodesh, a good friend of mine, that made a decision to go down to protected areas and save few dozens of lives.
In Dr. Sheleg, during times that are not conflict, what happens to those underground facilities?
So we try to use them. Some of them are just big halls, which are not too convenient. So we just do training in them and exercises and life support courses and so forth.
So they're still being used to some degree.
They're used. Most of them are fully used all the time. Some of them, we're actually renovating a new part now of 60 new beds, and some of them are in excellent conditions. They can be used as a regular department, even though they're underground and they're fully protected. They're still, we use lead, we use, uh, you know, all the everything that is needed for the patient to feel in excellent conditions, like he's in a regular hospital, even though it's underground and fully protected.
So, apart from the notion of having underground facilities that can be used during times of conflict, are there other learnings that you have from the post October 7th period that you will carry on moving forward or that you'd like to share with other hospitals in Israel?
Yeah, well, actually, we're sharing it not only with other hospitals because we're planning to go to Lithuania in a couple of months. We were invited, the Ministry of Health, to do a convention of the lessons learned in Iron Swords to all NATO countries in their health tech, health industry. And I'm talking about uh, hospital managers and people from the health tech departments of NATO. So the Ministry of Health has scheduled this convention in Lithuania. It was supposed to be actually, it was supposed to be today, and we canceled it because of the Am Kelavi war against Iran, and we rescheduled it for September. And my part in this convention, because it's the Minister of Health, is to talk about the lessons that we learned from this war regarding technology. And I'm going to, because this is your question. And I think that the most important thing to understand is when you find yourself in a new situation, like a hospital which is fully underground and needs to be prepared for a few mass casualty events a day, like we had to be prepared, you are blind. Because you know what's going on in your hospital above the ground. You don't know enough when you go in the underground. So what we did is after a few days when we realized that all the patients are safe and we started to do our routines and we started to do our mass casualty event drills, we understood we need to develop an application database which is connected to our electronic health record and to other systems in the hospital to allow us to manage this uh, tough situation in underground facilities. So we build some sort of a control application to allow us to accept mass casualty events, to computerize our blood bank, and to help us perform. It has many apps into it, but the most important thing has to do with the most important unmet need of a hospital, which is near the border, which has been struck by thousands of missiles a day, this region. we had to evacuate patients. So we had to make sure that in a matter of 1 hour, I can have a report in the hands of the Ministry of Health and the Home Front Command of 50 to 100 patients that needs to be transferred to hospitals elsewhere, which are not under missile attack. So we drilled it with trains. We drilled it with special bus ambulances. It's like a bus, but it's an ambulance bus. And we drilled it with all the ambulances companies. And we made sure that all this information is available on every person that needs to operate this type of sophisticated operation in the palm of their hands. So this is one thing, it's hard to explain without showing presentations of the products, but the unmet need was a hospital under a continuous missile and drone attack that needs to receive hundreds of patients a day, every day, like the 7th of October of Soroka, but every day for a few weeks, and safely transfer them to rear locations and hospitals. It's very complex because they have to understand how many ambulances, what is the location of the ambulances. You can't send ambulances from north. They would not leave this region because it's fully bombed and they need to stay here to save more lives. So there are many indications. The other thing that we did is we adopted AI softwares into the hospital's everyday work. I'll give you a few examples. All of them are, Israeli made. Okay. So there are two AI softwares that we use on everyday basis for quite a few years now. And one of them entered just before Iron Swords. It's an AI software that allows the physician to avoid mistakes when reading X-rays, CT, for a few indications. Mostly of them are trauma, but not only. So doctor, an orthopedic surgeon, sits down in the ER. He sees on an everyday basis 100 X-rays, and the radiologist sees the CTs. And to avoid mistakes and to make sure that they do their job as fast and safe as possible during everyday life, and then they can do it at wartime, we adopted these AI softwares, which are quite acceptable. Many hospitals use them worldwide, but this was Israeli based. It's an excellent software. The other one is called Wiz AI. It's quite famous in the United States, and it allows our brain catheterization surgeon to understand which patient needs to go to the cath lab as soon as possible to save him from a CVA.
It's a stroke, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I think that meeting in Lithuania is absolutely fascinating because you're going to have these NATO leaders that are there learning about how to deal and treat patients during wartime. And I would have to imagine that Lithuania was selected because it's on the border with, of course, Russia, right? And so Europe has to be prepared for anything that might happen in the future. And so I'm just kind of reading between the lines here, Dr. Sheleg, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Your assumption sounds right to me. I would say that there's a lot of experience that was gained in Israel. I think that defense tech and the health tech, Israel is going to lead them in the next few years. And these two fields, we have gained unique experience that Western world, unfortunately, will have to use to safeguard their communities and their nations, hopefully it will not be used. And that's what we said throughout the years. Whatever we do in the hospital in emergency preparedness, hopefully none of this will be used. But as you probably know, we live in a tough neighborhood,
Yes,
and we have to be prepared at all times. Good thing about it that Israelis are tough as well.
exactly. Well, as you said, you have to live defensively, don't you? Right. Before we move on, you referenced the general director of the hospital, Professor Masad Barhoum. What would you like to share with our listeners about him? He's a phenomenal individual, isn't
Listen, I was a young ophthalmologist when he called me to his office and told me, let's see if you can join me in the administration. And Professor Barhoum um, has been through so many adversities throughout the years. Um, Wars, COVID, financial difficulties, so many adversities. And I used to call him a lion because he's a true brave heart. And I think what happened in the last 10 years, 20 years has a lot to do with his vision, his stamina. And I really, really enjoy working with him. And I'm privileged to be at his side so many years and to be part of this huge transformation of this hospital.
And Dr.
So
Sheleg, let's underscore the fact that Professor Barhoum happens to be a Christian Israeli, right? And yet he's the general director of the hospital. So I think it underscores what we were talking about earlier of all Israelis coming together, whether they're Christian, whether they're Jewish, whether they're Muslim, whether they're Druze, or whether they're not practicing. It's really this convergence of so many different traditions of people coming together for the common good and for the common goal of helping people and treating patients. And I just wanted to underscore that.
yeah, that's so correct. And I must say that one of the things that I made a decision to move up north and that I was so happy about it, I didn't understand it at first, but it took me a while, that this diversity actually it makes the madness of the Middle East much more acceptable because everything here is crazy. But then you go to work and your director is Professor Masad Baroum, which is Christian, and the doctors, some of them Jews, some of them are from Russia, some of them are Christian Arabs, some of them are Muslims, some of them are Druze, Bedouin, Cherkess. So everything here is like a melting pot, as I mentioned before, and I think it's a big strength of the hospital, and it really helps us go through tough times
Indeed.
together.
Well, I want to move on because I want you to revisit what we talked about in a previous conversation and what I also talked about with Dr. Sella is how the Gali Medical Center helped and treated Syrians during the civil war in Syria. I think that really needs to be underscored as well, especially in light of what's been going on in Syria and recent developments. And there's a lot of hope there. Both from the United States and I think in certain Israeli quarters as well, if I'm not mistaken. So, what would you like to share about the GMC's role in treating Syrians during the Civil War?
It's been a while, but it's such an important situation for the hospital. And, in 2013, we started receiving Syrian patients for about 5 years. So over 3,000 patients, over 75% of all the Syrian patients, casualties that arrived to Israel, arrived to our Galilee Medical Center. And, 25% of them were women and children and elderly, but 75% of them were not. And we're going to talk about it in a minute, because most of them were very severely injured. Okay, so we had the privilege to this extraordinary humanitarian mission in one way, but also a secondary gain of a huge trauma experience of war that allowed us to be one of the leaders in this field in Israel and perhaps worldwide in many ways. Now, there are many aspects to this humanitarian mission that Israel took place, and our hospital was in the center of it, and most of the patients arrived was to this hospital. And obviously the most severe ones, because we have neurosurgery, and so everyone with multiple trauma will have a head trauma as well, so they arrive to our medical center. And one of the aspects that really bothered us are the ethical dilemmas that were very interesting. So one of them was understanding that the patients, especially in the first months, the casualties that were arriving, they were hit by a missile, by shreds, by a gunshot wound, and they, most of them lost their consciousness for a few hours, perhaps even for a few days. They were dozing off in their casualty and opening their eyes in a country that they were born and raised to believe is their enemy. So some of them were terrified, and we realized that really fast. So we made sure, and we contacted the army that was at the border, and we told them, if you can, with each patient, keep a relative or a friend from his village, someone he could recognize. Some of them, were so injured, they were so confused, they could not recognize even them. But to open your eye, they come from Syria and they enter a fully occupied Western medicine, like a Western hospital with all the facilities. So that was quite a shock for most of them. And we made sure that they have relatives or people from their village. And if not, we would pick relatives or patients from their village from other departments to be with them when they first wake up. Or we made sure at all times that our staff, one of them could speak Arabic. So that was quite a dilemma. But the other thing had to do with the staff, because some of the patients, they looked like young 20-ish people, with short hair and long beards. And you could swear every now and then when you stroll in that department, when you see dozens and dozens of young casualties, that you're in an ISIS camp or in a Jabhat al-Nusra camp. Now, we don't care. We're doctors, okay? We put our fingers into the wounds and take care of patients. That's the Hippocrates Oath. That's how we do. That's what we did in all these missions that I was privileged to take part of by the IDF's field hospital. So that's how we train, and that's how we work. But it makes you wonder. Now, they didn't cross the border just like that. Probably the IDF or the intelligence, they knew that they were safe and we can help them. Some of them were from organizations like Jabhat al-Nusra, like El Galili today. So some of them, we saved lives of thousands of people, and some of them were part of the rebels. Some of them were from Assad soldiers. So I think these were the two main issues that bothered us. Obviously, we had a chance, Professor, probably Eyal told you about some of the cases, because we were doing operations that not too many hospitals in the world can perform, like a full facial reconstruction during over a year and a half and over 30 surgeries, including olfactory nerve implantation or reimplantation, which is, for smelling, and reconstruction of the whole face. And I think that experience allowed our surgeons to be prepared uh, for every Israeli citizen and soldier that might get hit in these conflicts that happened and that might happen in the future.
Yeah, I want that story to be remembered, what the Galilee Medical Center did for the Syrians that really needed it, again, as Syria is on the dawn of a new chapter for them. And
Hopefully.
and in addition, I'd love you to share that in Lithuania, right? What you did in
Real.
Syria. I really think that that needs to be told as well, because those members of NATO need to understand how Israel helped its neighbor that was at war with it. So just got to say that. Just one or two other bases, because I know you're an awfully busy man, Dr. Sheleg. You referenced it just now, but if you can just expand a little bit, that you have served as the medical director of the IDF Field Hospital, participating in international humanitarian missions around the world. The earthquake in Haiti, for example, in 2010 that we all remember. There was the Kathmandu earthquake in 2015. I know that there was an earthquake in Turkey in 2023. Israel always seems to be the first on the spot and the first to help. And I'm just wondering if you can talk a little bit about Israel's response to these natural disasters and why it goes and does what it does.
So first of all, it has to do with the ethical decision of the IDF's field hospital to be, because we have another mission as a field hospital. Our main goal is to be prepared to help our soldiers and our civilians in Israel. But we understand that there is another need and something about the Jewish nation and the Jewish people that are always lending a hand to help people who are really in need. So you mentioned some of the missions that I was a part of, because the hospital has more missions that some of them I was not part of. And there's one thing that links them all together is we're going to countries who really need us. We will not go to an earthquake in, I don't know, probably we would love to, but United States can deal with their troubles.
Yeah, what you're
Obviously,
saying is you're not going to an earthquake region in a developed country.
exactly. We're not going, I mean, we supposedly won't go. We did go to Japan after one hurricane and
The
when there was a
tsunami.
leakage, right? There was a leakage of one nuclear power. But basically, this is what we do. And it's important to emphasize that the IDF's field hospital has been chosen by the WHO to be the first. And practically, there's another one, Chinese. I'm not sure they have too much experience. The only uh, tier 3 or level 3, which is the highest level in the WHO classification, to be a fully operational field hospital. And I think I know it's the best in the world. And we're very proud of it. And every time we go, we embark on one of these expeditions, uh, you feel blessed. It's not easy. It's a tough experience, but you feel blessed to be in this situation. And I always speak to the young students and I tell them that there's a huge gap between someone who is in need and someone who can help him. And this is, it's in the heart of medicine. And as bigger this gap, the greater the 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 feeling of achievement and the feeling of gratitude from the caregiver to be part of this situation, and obviously the feeling of gratitude of the person he helped him. So in this situation, in disaster medicine, this gap is enormous, and it gives you a huge meaning for what you do and for the fact that you were privileged enough to be in such a situation to support people who are in that much need.
Dr. Sheleg, before we wrap, can you talk about the future? I know that
Hmm.
you're an eternal optimist. What does the future
Well, I
hold?
am.
Yes, you have to be an optimist.
I am. But I also live here in this tough neighborhood, and I understand that we in Israel and myself and this my hospital will have to be prepared at all times for, I would say, next case scenario, because I don't believe the conflict is over. And our job, our duty, is to make sure Israel is strong and Israel is safe, and we can keep our communities, our civilians, and our soldiers safe and healthy here in Israel. So, although I'm an optimistic person, I know we have to prepare, and I know we shall prevail.
Amen. And on that note, we're going to leave it right there. Dr. Tzvi Sheleg, it is always so inspiring to speak with you and all of your colleagues at the Galilee Medical Center. And we just truly want to thank you so much for joining us here on this episode of IsraelCast.
So, just one thing, if possible, Stephen, I'd like to say,
Yes,
if just one last thing.
yes, go
First
ahead.
of all, I'd like to thank Jewish people all over the world for their support throughout the years, and especially in during the last almost 2 years now of war. For us Israelis, Jewish people abroad, and America is our greatest support, especially now in these days. I think Israelis, I speak for the people of Galilee, we really need your support. In any way you can support Israel and the Galilee Medical Center, please contact me. Please contact us, because especially in the Galilee where, everything, it's still the periphery, it's not all the big bucks of Tel Aviv. Um, every support makes a huge difference to us. So if anyone's listening to this podcast and wants to do Aliyah, or wants to come for a visit, or wants to support our hospital and our innovation program in any way, we'll be more than happy. So thank you for this
Absolutely.
opportunity.
And even just to spread the word on the remarkable work that you're doing. And of course, why don't we give a shout out to your website as well?
Great. So you can look me up on LinkedIn, and it has the GMC Playground program has a website, and obviously has a LinkedIn profile. And if you need to contact us for any collaboration or anything that you'd like to advance together, then we'll be more than happy to do that.
So, Dr. Sheleg, people can find you on LinkedIn, or if they want information about the Galilee Medical Center, they can go to gmc.org.il. Once again, gmc.org.il. And like I said earlier, I think you're going to be deluged with mail, but that's a good thing, right? Because it means people are engaged and they're interested in the phenomenal work that you and your colleagues are doing there. So, once again, Doctor, thanks so much. And I can't wait to see you up at the GMC before too long.
Thank you, Stephen.
All right. And we'll have info about Dr. Sheleg, of course, on the show notes page of this very episode on our website, jnf.org/IsraelCast. And of course, we do release new episodes of the show every other Wednesday. And just so you never miss an episode, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast. Just search for IsraelCast. It's that easy. And don't forget to rate and review us, because that really helps with our rankings, which in turn make it easier for more folks around the world to find us and to hear from truly remarkable people like Dr. Sheleg. Or you can always enjoy the show by visiting us at our website. Once again, jnf.org/IsraelCast. We're also on YouTube, so do search for us there. Just search for IsraelCast on YouTube. And doing what they do best behind the scenes to make IsraelCast happen. It's our mini Moshav, as I call them. We want to thank Vivian Grossman, Stefan Oberman as well, and of course our editors, the one and only Jay Rothman. The music that you hear at the top until the program is called My Eden. It's by the very talented Rafi Malkiel from his album Water on the Tzaddik label. IsraelCast is powered by Jewish National Fund USA, your voice in Israel. For more info about JNF USA, do visit jnf.org. And if you'd like to write to us with story ideas, I know Dr. Sheleg would love to hear from you, and so would I. So do email us at israelcast@jnf.org. JNF.org. Once again, IsraelCast at JNF.org. Meantime, I'm Stephen Shalowitz. Thanking you for tuning in and looking forward to having you join us on future episodes of IsraelCast.